Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you join us. My name is TJ Marcasani. I am the creative marketing manager here at Spreetail. And thanks for joining us for this live webinar slash Q&A. We're really excited to have you. We're just going to kind of take it slow in the beginning and let people join in. The reason why we're doing summer and winter is because around this time, we like to start thinking about summertime vibes, right? It's been winter for a little bit too long. I'm from Pennsylvania, and when I saw, Punxsutawney Phil, the groundhogs, saw his shadow, so that means another week, 6 weeks of winter. I was absolutely devastated. But anyway, hopefully the vibes of today's event will get us all picturing the pools and beaches that is just around the corner. Anyway, today you're going to hear from some top e-commerce advertising leaders. We have some great guests as they walk you through proven strategies for optimizing your advertising approach, fine-tuning your product listings, planning for seasonal success, and prepping for Amazon Prime Day Plus. We actually have a great takeaway. Navigating 2025 peak season. As a special bonus, all attendees will receive our free promotional and sales event guide, and this will be a go-to resource for setting up your strategy for the 2025 summer selling season. But enough about me. Let me introduce our wonderful panel of speakers today. First, we got Matt. Matt Jeffries is Director of Merchandising at Spreetail. He leads a high-impact team of strategies to drive profitability, optimize operations, and build strong vendor relationships. With extensive experience in logistics, cost negotiations, data analysis, Matt has a proven track record of success managing large-scale business portfolios. Especially, the reason why we chose Matt is he works in our pool and spa category heavily, so he has some really, really, on-hand experience with a category with Summer Peak. We're also joined by Cody Klein, who is the Director of Brand Strategy at Spreetail. She leads the charge in shaping the company's approach to brand positioning, storytelling, and market expansion. With over 11 years of experience at Spreetail, she has honed her experience in brand strategy, product merchandising, content development, and driving initiatives that elevate brand visibility and performance. 11 years at Spreetail. We're really lucky to have you, Cody. And finally, we got Sarah Hostetter from Amazon, senior account executive at Amazon, where she leads strategic sales growth for Amazon's premium accelerator partners, Spreetail being one of those. If you don't know what an accelerator is, it's the business model we operate under. With nearly 5 years at Amazon, she has played a key role driving advertising success for major brands, previously overseeing ad strategy for Johnson & Johnson and hair care brands, and working with large enterprise clients. So we're excited to have everyone. Anyone want to say hi?
Thanks, TJ. Stoked to be here.
Great, great. There's a lot. The value we see in having these events is not only the information that our speakers bring, and we'll walk you through slides on their expertise, but also the conversation that we're able to have with them and the access that you're able to have with them right now. So we are going to take live questions in the chat. Let's do a test. I'll throw something in the chat. Hey, chat. So I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. I'll throw questions to our speakers as they come in, and we'll also have some time at the end to address any questions. And we're also going to reward participation. So whenever you see a participation slide come up, throw your answer in the chat and you'll automatically be entered in the pool to win some great prizes, which we'll announce at the end of this and email out, mail to the winner. So we got some cool stuff: walking pad, massage gun, hockey pool table, and then a great outdoor fire. So let's get right into it. Participate to win your summer of growth. So I want to kick it over to Matt, who's going to take it from here. Well, actually, first, let's do our first self-assess. On a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared do you feel last year going into this peak season? So you can put your answers in the chat, 1 to 10. And then if Matt has any ideas on this, I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, TJ, so if I were to rank myself from 1 to 10 for the last year, key areas I'd be focused on when I evaluate peak performance, I'm looking at inventory levels, out of stocks, which are critical to avoid. How well did our ad campaigns perform? Were we in budget, over budget? How effective was our promotional calendar? How good is our listing health? Were our variations active and performing well? And then how well were we able to manage price point and our retail controls? Those are some of the key things that I would evaluate myself on. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you give yourself a score there.
Okay, great. Well, let's get into your content and then I'll revisit this question to give people a chance to reassess and drop their answers in the chat as we go on. And if you do, you will be entered to win this great walking pad, which everyone can add to their steps. We have a real focus on work-life balance, keeping a healthy lifestyle here at Spreetail, so this aligns with our company culture really well. All right, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just walk you through what we see as like how do we grow, where are we growing, um, and what sort of channels we're growing in. Right now, we sort of have two different areas that aren't really talked about quite as much: newcomers and sort of the dark horses. Newcomers like TikTok, Temu, Sheen, those are all new and exciting. Those are a different way of shopping. Specifically, TikTok is probably the most unique. We see a lot of really good partnership between actual users of product that get to connect with potential customers there. It can be more difficult to manage. There's a different flywheel than our traditional marketplaces that we see, like Amazon or Walmart. But each channel has its nuances and their specific shoppers. Definitely worth catering your approach to each of these new channels. And we see a lot of price point variance too among these. And depending on where your product falls, you might need to change retails. You might need to have a different promotional strategy. All things to keep in mind with those newer comers to the market. And then sort of our dark horses, Home Depot and Lowe's and Target, all depending on what your product is, those can be huge growth drivers. Typically, Home Depot and Lowe's are a little bit more difficult to manage. They're slightly different than a traditional marketplace model like we'd see on Amazon. So they do take a lot of work to get off the ground and to continue to maintain that relationship. But each of those come with a very specific customer that has a really strong sense of loyalty. Each of them do have their own rewards programs too that is managed by those retailers themselves. But in particular, the Target customer is extremely loyal. So we've seen some really good growth there. We're continuing to expand with them. But it seems like they're about ready to make a pretty big breakthrough year this year. If you had to ask me if I was really betting on a marketplace to blow up this year, I think Target's a pretty good bet. And then another way that we see a lot of growth is through operational excellence, which this is a pretty exciting topic for us. Last year, we outpaced overall category and e-commerce growth rates, which is super exciting to see. That tells me that our advertising strategies, our in-stock rates are all performing really well. And this is yielding higher than normal growth for both us at Spreetail and our partners. This is great for our partners because typically more volume adds more viability for additional SKUs, all sorts of growth opportunities, but it also helps push their competitors down and gain market share. That's probably the most critical thing that we're seeing right now is with some of our models and some of our programs, we're able to bring more product to market more efficiently than others. And those brands are really winning the market share game. So it's really exciting to see. And it's sort of interesting too, because if I look back to when I first started in e-commerce, a lot of these things weren't necessary or they weren't as big of a point of emphasis. The performance gains were not as big. It was very much so like a field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. You have a great product, and you have an average listing, you can still do extremely well. But now this has sort of shifted into the need for robust ad campaigns to drive the maximum number of sessions to your products, premium content to increase your conversion rate. So yes, you have the customer there live and ready, willing to purchase, but do you have the content that instills the trust to have them buy that product and be happy with it? Also, competitive retails. Now more than ever, there are plugins, there are apps, there are all sorts of things that let customers see instantly if you have a competitive offer for them. So this is a really near and dear area to my heart, just because we're able to help chase out so many costs that lead to increased retails where brands find themselves they're not able to be competitive in the market. And then another area where we've seen a lot of growth and a lot of emphasis over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of economic pressures on the average consumer. So the promotions calendar now is more impactful than it ever has been. This elevates your brand awareness. There is a really strong halo effect that we see. So when your sales jump, they don't immediately go back down to zero. The trailing weeks then see a pretty solid lift that is, in my mind, 100% worth the investment for these sorts of events. And then lastly, fulfillment. And this is an area where it wasn't quite as impactful when there was just basically two brands of fulfillment, right? There was Amazon Prime and everything else. The gap between those has closed tremendously over the last few years. And even in the last 6 months, there's been material improvement to the everything else category. So this is an area where you really have to bring your A game, whether it's, manufacturer fulfilled, whether it's FBA, whether it's 1P, 3P. You're not going to make it if you don't have the delivery speeds to support your product. I mean, it's the way that people shop now. And we've even seen it spill over into LTL items, bigger pools, larger pieces of furniture, where previously a 2-week delivery time was acceptable. But now with our improvements operationally, you have really like products next to each other. One that says, I'd buy this with a 2-week waiting period, or there's a comparable product and I can have it in 2 days. And even if I don't like it, I can buy it and return it before the first product even show up. So it's a huge advantage for brands to be able to leverage that fulfillment and do it affordably is the big thing, because yeah, sure, everybody can get it to you quick, but can we do that repeatedly and in a cost-conscious manner where you can sustain that for a full peak season? It's really tough for brands to do, but that's an exciting area for me at this point.
Nice, Matt. Just for our audience, if distilling this all down into like a single thing, in your opinion, the brands that are going to do the best this upcoming 2025 peak season, will figure out blank. Like, what's the number one thing where you're just gonna kind of put all of the competitors behind you if you're doing this right for 2025? Or what do you see as like an outsized opportunity for brands this summer?
I think this summer will be pretty unique. And I really think price point's going to drive a lot of the sales through peak season. There's a lot of talk on tariffs. There's a lot of talk on economic pressures. There's a lot of rising homes costs. Like, everything that we're hearing about in the news cycles and day to day is about the increased cost of living. And if you can find a way to market where you've realized slightly less than the market average rate gain, you will be a super competitive offer at that point in time. And I really think driving out some of those costs is going to be what really drives some brands to win this summer.
Interesting. So it's finding ways to save on costs, all those things that add up, logistics wise.
And even so, more so, like, it's not going to 100% be retail based, right? It's going to be value based.
Yeah.
So when I buy something and I know that I have a high confidence in my ability to return or get customer service if I'm not happy with the product, or the delivery speed. I'm happy when I pay an appropriate price for a fast delivery speed, but I'm not happy if I pay a lot and a slow delivery. It's difficult to manage the purchase. It's difficult to manage problems that happen afterwards. So I would say price is the biggest component of that overall value in the purchase. And I think value will probably drive this season if I got the chance to edit my first statement.
Value. Yeah. The summer of value. Love that. All right. Moving on.
I just want to talk about a little bit. This can be hard for people to take a step back and say, like, okay, we all know when the sales are going to happen. I mean, for my previous life, my hunting and fishing experiences there, like we know when hunting season is coming. We need to walk ourselves back from there. Like, becomes a little bit more difficult when you're talking strictly seasonal items that don't have a defined season, like pool and spa. When does peak sales start to pick up? Is a bit of a question mark, and it's in large part weather dependent. We make some assumptions based on there and say, okay, year over year, typically our biggest peaks fall in these weeks, and from there, sort of walk ourselves back to make sure that we're in a good position to have inventory on hand and be ready for that. And typically, that starts with our purchasing and production plans. This a lot of times is driven by lead time. So my answer right here might not be the best for you. You might have shorter, you might have longer lead times. Your import times could be quicker. You could be a domestic-based supplier. So keep all that in mind when I give my answer. But my current position, we're about 10 months out from peak is when we start our real planning. And we make a lot of volume assumptions and assessments based on all the data that we have from what we're seeing earlier in the season, last season. Those are all really insightful for us to plan volume, retails, and profit, because it's no secret to anyone, like, these aren't just things we sell just to sell them. Like, you have to ensure your profitability so you can see next year's peak. So once we have our basic flow plan down and what we want to bring in, what retail we think we're going to sell at, then we move into some of our promotional plans. These are a bit long, unfortunately, but that also includes production lead time, right? So with the lift we're seeing, sometimes it's in excess of 6 to 8x for just, an everyday promotion. And that takes planning to get that product produced on time and here ready to distribute into our fulfillment network. And that's really no different for any other position that you'd be in, no matter who's distributing your product. Like, it has to be on hand to sell. But there are pretty strong lead times with a lot of channels as well. And those counters fall a little bit differently. So if you're strongly with Home Depot, like you're probably looking at their spring Black Friday, whereas maybe Amazon, you're looking at their Prime Days in July or maybe October. So walk yourself about 6 months back from there. And that's really when you need to start working with those channels and start planning out deals to ensure that you have the most impactful placement that you can get. And then once you're able to secure that and you have a good plan in place, about 90 days before your product is supposed to be sailing or should be starting to move domestically, you should be locking in very specifically to your transportation plans. And really, you have to predict the worst. In previous years, we've seen some pretty big upsets to the global market. I mean, last year we had Red Sea issues. Years past, they had the Suez Canal where a whole carrier vessel was turned sideways in the canal. That turned everything on its head. Like, there are things that happen. So this is probably, if you're going to lean in one area where you're heavier on inventory, it's probably here. Because these are going to be very impactful promotions, throughout the 6 to 8x number, and that is not unrealistic at all. So if you miss those events, you are going to have, a lot of inventory that you don't necessarily have a home for. So it is critical that you hit those times. Then from there, get closer and closer. It's starting to warm up, TJ. 30 days out, I'm looking at my ad campaigns. How competitive are the keywords looking right now? Is that still fitting within my budget? how are my overall structure? Am I doing offsite ads, PPC, DSP? Are those all looking like they're structured in the way that we need, that we can still hit our budget and still drive the traffic we need to sell through the product we're bringing in? Uh, that's also when I do a little pulse check on our retail pricing plans. So we might need to make adjustments, both up or down, depending on where the overall market is, where you feel you should be slotted based on competition, and costs may have changed too. This is sort of your last chance to really get ahead of any cost increases that you need to pass on. It's best not to do those last minute. You're a little bit better off to sort of ease into it earlier and flow through the rest of the season versus try to spike prices. That can be problematic, and it can give the wrong impression to customers that don't fully understand what the costs were that you incurred to bring that product stateside, or bring it into your fulfillment centers, or truly bring it to market. At that point in time, we're also doing content reviews. Are my images looking great? Are all my images showing up? Do I need to start opening cases with marketplaces to have that content convey the full value of what you are actually bringing to market? That's a really good pulse check, and I wouldn't say that you're done there, because if we know one thing for sure, is that content is constant. It is evergreen. There's always room for improvement, and there are always things that are breaking sometimes, or it needs maintenance. So 30 days out is when we're really locking in on content, and also listing optimizations. Are my titles showing up correctly? Have I done A/B testing to see if, hey, maybe there's a higher converting title out there that better conveys what my product is versus search? And there's a little bit of disconnect there too, right? Like, how we search isn't always how we buy. So sometimes you need to bridge that gap between what customers are searching versus what their actual need is, and what does your title say, so that they can actually find the product and get what they need. And then lastly, variation structure. This is a great way for brands to convey the value between different sizes of product, different product types. It's also a way to tightly group different colors as well, to showcase your full assortment. The simplest of them, small, medium, large. Like, I found your product, but I wear a medium, but I found the large. Well, easy. If the variation structure is correct, I just click right to the left, and there's my medium, and I get to wear my nice Spreetail shirt 2 days later. So yeah, really locking in on those things. And again, those are things that you need to have maintenance through the whole season. That those things do break, they do get jumbled up sometimes, and it does take a couple days usually to get those fixed. So it's something you really need to stay on top of.
Nice. It sounds from your timeline. Thanks for walking through like the entire life cycle of preparing for peak season. Based on your timeline, it looks like we're kind of in like the promotional planning, maybe a little bit of the inventory flow plan
Mm-hmm.
time, which is a great transition over to our next guest, Cody. But I do want to just take a second here to give the chat any, some time to just throw in any questions you have for Matt as he walks through this timeline for preparing for the peak season before we move on. And if not, we can discuss at the end too. But yeah, while we wait, what in your opinion, Matt, is the most stressful time of this timeline for you?
For me, it's that purchasing and production plans up to that inventory flow plans. For us, you know, there's a lot at stake, and if you miss that, you can't recreate seasonality. No matter how good your ad campaigns are, no matter how big of a discount you offer. I mean, especially in pool and spa, like, you can't make the sunshine. And if you miss that sunshine, you sort of miss a lot of the seasonality. So for getting everything just right, this is actually the stressful time for me. My sigh of relief is when the sun is out and the product is selling. That's my busiest sales time, is my least stressful time a lot of times. So.
Yeah. So prepping it. Yeah, we got a question. What are your thoughts about varying similar but different products together to boost BSR at launch? Thanks, Matt, for that question.
Yeah. That's a good question, and it is 100% a viable strategy. Um, I won't endorse you to bend the rules. I mean, we see some variations out there where it says, it's supposed to be a color variation, but it's actually a size. And each category does have some specific nuances to how you group the items. So if you can find a way where your new product is similar enough that it falls within that specific categorization's rules for variations, it's a great idea. You immediately boost uh, reviews as well, because a lot of times those reviews are shared. So if I have new product A versus my existing product B, and that existing product B has 5,000 reviews, your product A is grouped in a way that it looks like there's a lot more reviews for your new to market product than have actually been generated. And that's built on the backbone of, okay, this is already a successful, well-liked product. And this one is so closely related that the reviews and ranks should be similar as you go through launch. But Matt, you bring up a great point. It is a totally viable strategy to go to market with new products. And similarly, like, we caution against unnecessary UPC changes, because as you change your UPC, you give up your rank, you give up your reviews, and you start from scratch. If your product is truly great and you have a great plan for launch, can you get back there? 100%. But it will take time. So
Awesome. Well, thanks for the participation. And again, Matt manages a large portfolio of brands on Amazon and other marketplaces. So if you have any other nitty-gritty questions about what it's like to merchandise at scale in the e-commerce world, anytime, throw them in the chat and we'll address them. Anyway, thanks, Matt. I'm gonna take you off the stage and bring in our next speaker, Cody. What's up, Cody?
Good morning. Hope
Thank
everyone
you.
is staying warm. I think we are scheduled to get like 5 to 6 inches of snow in Nebraska tonight. So I'm not looking forward to that. I'm with you when I want summer warm weather.
All right, well, let's keep the good summer vibes going with our next self-assessed question. From a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in your current advertising and content capabilities? You can be vulnerable here. We won't judge. And then Cody's gonna walk us through some great stuff in the world of advertising and content. So drop it in to enter yourself to win a Reathlete massage gun, which I need. I'm constantly sore in my old age. So perfect. William's confident with an 8. I will be more confident after we go through our slides with Cody, but I'll say I'm maybe a 5. Jennifer, 6 or 7. All right, keep them coming, and you'll be entered to win. So anyway, let's go. Cody, all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, TJ. I think originally I was just going to talk to advertising strategy, but I couldn't get on here and talk about peak season prep without talking about content. This is going to be your step 1 to make sure you're ready for the season, making sure you have optimized listings. So step 1, making sure all of your copy is updated. Do you have all the right top keywords in your titles, bullets, descriptions? Do customers know what they're looking at when they're on your page? I think on average, customers are on a listing page for 20 seconds. So making sure you have all those key details clearly written out. Another really great way to do this is making sure you have really great creatives. Do you have infographics that are teaching customers about the features, benefits, what makes your product better than the competitor product? So that's a really great opportunity, especially if customers, like I said, are only on the page for 20 seconds. Making sure you have great lifestyle images so customers can visualize this product in their life. They can see the actual size of it. It's always really important. Do you have video showing your product in use? Also really great to get some lifestyle shots in there. And making sure you have A+ content on your listings. You only have so much info you're able to show above the fold. This is an opportunity to connect with your consumer, make sure there's additional information that you might have left out above. So important to make sure you have a really strong content strategy. So when you're paying for advertising, customers come to your listing page, they're going to convert. They're going to know that this is the best product for them. And as Matt touched on earlier too, it's really important to make sure you have a strong variation strategy, making sure it's easy for customers to find the size or the color that they're looking for, and being really strategic in this too. Spreetail does a really great job on content and variations. We are very thorough in our A/B testing. seeing, what works best for customers, what are they engaging with. So I would say from a self-success point of view, Spreetail's really stepped up our game here in the last year and a half, and I'm really excited for all the new capabilities that we're able to offer our brand partners here.
Awesome. Walk us through the chart that we're looking at. What are some of these
Yes.
like
So
numbers
this
that we're
is
looking at?
our Spreetail listing quality score dashboard. And so this gives us a real-time view into, are we hitting those key metrics that we have established for our what makes a quality listing? So we're looking at everything from title length, just bullet length. Do we have 5 bullets? Do we have variations? We even are able to scrape to see, do we have the top keywords for these categories or these products on within our bullets and description. So really excited by this new feature that we've had for probably about a year and a half, like I said. So that's just a quick overview of it.
Awesome. And you would describe this work as kind of like, the walk before you run, to make all of your promotional and advertising and marketing strategies actually work. This is the homework, the prep work to do before you're really investing in that. Is that correct?
Definitely. Yeah, you want to have this done, like Matt said, at least 30 days before you start to see start to pick up.
Beautiful. Moving on.
Next up, after you have your content in place, is when you should start doing your budget planning. So at Spreetail, working with key seasonal brands that don't have just a linear seasonality, you really have to be very thoughtful in when you are starting your advertising. So when it's important to kind of take a step back and see, okay, when does the overall category start to spend? Really understanding what your brand goals are, what size of budget you're able to spend to remain profitable as a business is important. So this chart here on the left is showing a screenshot from a tool that we use at Spreetail called Analytic Index. Here you can clearly see for pool, rafts, and inflatable ride-ons category, you can see how drastically this ramps up as you're getting towards season. So it's important to make sure you have a really strong ramp up period to peak season, get out ahead of your competition, really get strong organic placement for your products. So this is something that I'm building into plans when I'm looking at setting my yearly budget. So once you have a lot of the background or back end research done, then it's time to really outline your yearly plan. I always like to like the quote from, I think it's Benjamin Franklin: fail to plan, plan to fail. It's so important to have a strategy when you're going into the year, especially on seasonal categories. There's a very specific time period and sales period that you have to hit. So making sure you have that plan. So really taking a look at what are your top categories, if you have multiple or even top product families within your variations, and item level budgets. So making sure those line back up to your sales goal, that you're spending appropriately for each item and category is just one piece of advice that I would give everyone. So once you've done a lot of the back end research of outlining what your budget should look like, then you come into the fun part of getting your campaigns created. So I get to work really closely with our ad management team that's actually executing our campaigns. And they're doing a lot of work around, okay, where are we currently organically ranking for keywords and where there's opportunity to improve. And so the screenshot over here on the right is going to be from brand analytics within Amazon or Product Opportunity Explorer, and seeing, where are those keywords that are performing well this year compared to last year, or even the last 90 or 180 days. Where do you have current click share? Where do you have room to grow? And so doing a really thorough analysis of this is also going to help you determine how much budget to put towards certain keywords. Other important things to do once you have kind of the keywords analyzed and figured out is, how are you going to allocate your campaign structures? How much are you looking to put towards auto versus manual campaigns? Are you looking to do brand protection? Do you have competitor targeting outlined? All of these are going to be important to your overall strategy and comprehensive full funnel strategy. Also really important is DSP. I feel like this is I wouldn't say it's a new advertising capability, but I would say for Spreetail, we're really leaning in here this year. Really looking to expand this for all of our brand partners. You just have some additional on-site, off-site placement opportunities. And then making sure we also have placement and channel allocation. So we actually advertise on at least seven different channels, 7+ channels. So when I'm looking at my budget for the year, I'm having to allocate it to different channels to make sure we're meeting the customer where they're at in their journey and what marketplace do they shop on.
Hey Cody, we got a great question from William. How do you benchmark when you are new to know what is performing?
Great question. I actually have this, and I think in the next slide that I have, TJ, I don't know if you want to jump there or if you want to take a awesome. So yes, while you're in peak season, a lot of metrics here that you're going to want to monitor and optimize. You want to make sure that you're spending to kind of your budget plan. Obviously, there's going to be tweaks if you see weather picking up and you see conversion and ROAS picking up sooner than later. It's really great to monitor your tacos. So those will be your total advertising cost of sale. Are you spending at the level that your inventory is moving out? Taking a really close look at ROAS, CPC conversion, click-through rates, William, is going to be really important. What keywords are working well? Where can you double down and increase your organic rank on those items for BSR? Are you capturing click share? Those will all be really important to know, how is this performing? Where do we need to lean in or lean out from a keyword or targeting or placement opportunity? Or hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, really thorough. I'm going to go back to a self-assess. We're going to take a little halfway break. I think actually we'll have these back to back. But anyway, from a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel navigating seasonal promotions and campaigns? We've had a lot of confident people in the chat, which is good because we have some current brand partners joining us who've worked with the great Cody and the great team, helping them navigate through this area. So, yeah, throw your answers in the chat for a chance to win a really cool hockey table and ping pong table. Nice. All right. Well, I also want to just give the chat an opportunity to drop any questions they have based on the content that Cody has walked us through before we move on to our next section, or we can address them in the roundtable Q&A section. We'll give that a second too. Did we go over this slide, Cody?
No, we haven't yet.
Let's do it.
I can hit this quick. So post-peak, there's still opportunity to capture end-of-season shoppers, even though, maybe towards end of July, the season's winding down. There's still great opportunity here to run promotions, to still boost your BSR, really leaning into retargeting campaigns. What customers have looked at your product or within the category, but haven't made purchases yet that might still want to. So there's a great opportunity here to lean in. Won't steal too much of Sarah's thunder with Prime Day and holiday sales, but making sure that you're planning for these in July, October, and then the Turkey 12 season that we're seeing now. Really great opportunities to still remain relevant to your consumer and get those out of season shoppers. Last but not least, it's really important to recap the season. What went well? What did you learn? Making sure you're documenting that for the next season or next year as you're going into planning. It just kind of is a revolving wheel. You just start back over again.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for your insights on this matter, and we'll bring you back in the end to answer any questions from the panel. I think I have some more, but I'll save them for the end. But thanks, Cody.
Thank you, TJ.
All right, next up, we have our esteemed guest from Amazon, Sarah, to walk us through tips for Amazon growth. I'm very excited about this section. But before we do that, we have our last prize on a scale from 1 to 10. How would you rate your current Amazon presence? That's a tough one. And to answer to win a outdoor fire pit, which is great. I actually mounted a TV outside my house, and we have a little fire pit going, and my kids love watching movies outside, which counts as kind of not screen time if they're in the fresh air. But anyway, drop your rating in the chat to enter, and yeah, let's go. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, TJ. Awesome. So wanted to give you guys a sense of the audience sizes of some key categories that Spreetail plays in. I pulled the volume of shoppers that browsed and purchased within each of these categories or subcategories during Q2 of 2024. Let's zoom in and look at pools, hot tubs, and supplies. In 2024, we had over 19 million shoppers actively browsing this subcategory. And we saw that that was an 8% increase from the amount of shoppers that browsed the category in Q2 of 2023. During the pandemic, we saw a massive shift from shoppers who had traditionally purchased these big and bulky hardlines items at brick and mortar stores, turning to e-commerce platforms for the majority of their shopping. Obviously, this trend is continuing to right size as more time passes away from the pandemic. But these big and bulky hardlines categories have continued to maintain a lot of this online demand. This has made Amazon a premier destination for shoppers to seek out those large premium items for their home or backyard. And Spreetail is here to help you understand how to properly harness the traffic on our site. When I work with Spreetail to develop ad strategies for their clients, we start with analyzing this data set at the brand level. Say your brand sells 6 to 8 person hot tubs. We want to give you a sense of how many of the 100 million shoppers that are actively browsing lawn, garden, and patio are actively in the market for pools, hot tubs, and supplies. We can also provide you with some insights about how they shop and when the best time is to get in front of these high value targets. After that, we'll drop down to the brand level and we'll look at how many folks landed on your hot tub brand, but navigated away without making a purchase. And then the anchor point to this data set when we look at it at a brand level is understanding how many of those 19 million in-aisle customers actively are converting on your products and what we can do to ultimately increase that chance of conversion. My role on the Amazon ads team is to ensure that we're setting Spreetail's brands up for success. And a huge part of that is equipping Spreetail with all of the data needed to properly strategize on how we'll convert these net new shoppers that are actively within these aisles currently. TJ, we'll pop to the next slide. We cannot talk about summer prep without talking about Prime Day. I do not know exactly when Prime Day will be this year. Fun fact, we find out on the exact same day as the press. But I do know that we are in a great spot here on February 11th to start thinking about getting our ducks in a row for this massive summer tentpole event. Prime Day is such an important sales driver for our brands because it offers a unique opportunity to convert net new customers. During the Prime Day season, we see that shoppers are so much more confident browsing brands that they've never purchased from in categories that they're not previously tapped into. When we help brands design advertising strategies for Prime Day, we are looking to put your brand in the best position to be visible for these new to brand shoppers that are feeling more empowered to look for the best deals on Amazon, not just in grocery, not just in CPG, not just in consumer electronics, but we know that they're on the site. We know that they have a high intent to purchase. So let's put our best foot forward in connecting them with a product that maybe they haven't considered previously. And then last slide, TJ, just to double down on the analytical index data that Cody showed a few slides previously, we cannot stress enough how important it is to not just think of Prime Day as a 2-day event, but really to think about it in the context of the larger Prime Day season. Prime Day falls smack dab in the middle of our peak seasonal moments for the summer and the majority of the brands that Spreetail is working with. So it's an awesome opportunity to put your best foot forward. I pulled some raw campaign data here from a client that wanted to make a big splash during Prime Day last year, because I think it does a really good job of illustrating how important it is to be present for the entire Prime Day season, not just the 48 hours where the deals are live. When you're working with Spreetail, that team is in place to help you design that lead up strategy that will educate your shoppers on your product's competitive advantage. Ultimately, during that lead up period, we want to make sure that we're driving as much education as possible to your brand so that when it comes time for shoppers to convert, they don't have to guess, why your brand is the best 8-person hot tub in the market. They already know why, they're confident, and they're able to convert quickly. From there, after we design the lead up period, Spreetail's experts will maximize the amount of conversions that we're able to drive during that 48-hour period. And then the last piece of this is making sure that we are keeping all of the folks that landed on our product detail pages during this massive traffic spike, and make sure that we're keeping them engaged with the brand and continuing to drive that chance of conversion through retargeting campaigns, just like Cody addressed. We really are here to be that strategic partner to help you design these campaigns on Amazon so that we can ultimately drive these sales with these net new shoppers that flood the site during Prime Day. Thanks, TJ.
Nice. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm going to add everyone back in so we can all celebrate our winners. I got a list. We ran through a picker, and our walking pad goes to Matt B. The massage gun goes to William. Thanks for participating, William S. Our air hockey table, Evelyn S. F. And the outdoor fire pit will go to Tom M. We'll send communications on how to get those products to you after this webinar concludes. But thank you so much to the speakers. I want to jump into and the people for participating. Now's the time to participate a little bit more. We have some questions that were submitted when people registered, so I want to address them first, and then we can do a little roundtable Q&A session for the next 10 minutes or so with any questions the chat drops in. So if you've been holding your question till the end, now's the time to get it answered. But anyway, let's go. Question number 1. What are the best strategies for showcasing products? How can we grow effectively without significant expenses? So we're looking for some insights on the merchandising end and then probably in the promotional and the ads end. So who wants to take this one first?
I can hop in there. So it's really important, like I said, to have a really strong content strategy when you're launching new products. Customers don't have anything really to go off of until you get reviews on your listing. So one, making sure you have all the features, benefits clearly listed in your product. You have really great pictures so that they trust your product. And then also utilizing review strategies. So we have strategies, review programs off Amazon and on Amazon to be able to boost the customer's confidence in your products. And then once you have those kind of foundational pieces in place, that's when I would start advertising and trying to get some additional traffic to your listing.
Makes sense. Anything else from the panel on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon does have pretty powerful tools for A/B testing. They're always been impactful to at least see where you're at in terms of overall conversion changes. But Amazon sort of really got it right, where you have the opportunity to take it in upon yourself to say, I want to sell the most product that I can, and Amazon's provided the tools to do it. So that's really the sandbox aspect of some of those tools that they have built out. So I think that they do a good job in supporting sellers in that aspect of, okay, I have my baseline. How do I take the next step? There's a lot of great tools out there that Amazon provides. So I would strongly recommend some A/B testing and titles specifically. I mean, that's usually the first thing customers see besides your hero image that Cody already started to hit on.
Nice. And then rolling into our next one. This is a broad one, but maybe we can drill into some specifics. How to grow on Amazon. I want to maybe ask a little more specifically, what's something that we think is an underutilized or under-recognized way to grow on Amazon? our team talks a lot about nailing the basics. Sometimes the basics aren't like the sexiest thing in the world, but they can have an outpaced impact on growth. Matt, you touched on that a little bit, but any ideas in that area?
I'm going to
I
throw
can
a
talk through it.
softball. Sorry.
Oh,
Sarah, I'm
go
going
ahead,
to throw it
Cody.
to you anyways. I was going to say, throwing you a softball to talk about DSP.
Awesome. Yes. So the tactic that Cody mentioned, DSP, is our ability to design ad campaigns to reach shoppers proactively based on their historic shopping data. So we can do this in all sorts of ways. We could go after, shoppers in that, sticking with that 8-person hot tub example, in the pool and spa category, or drill down just to spas. But I think where a lot of brands are underutilizing the tool is really to make sure that they are properly addressing the amount of folks that land on their product detail pages and then navigate away without making a purchase. You've already done the hard work to get somebody to land on your page. Just like Cody said, with making sure that all of your content pieces are in line on the page. You've put your best foot forward. Now let's make sure that we're maximizing our chance of conversion by getting these shoppers that navigated away without making a purchase back in the fold and put that product in front of them to make that decision a second time. That's just one example of how we could use that DSP. We can get really granular. We can pull some cool levers, like if somebody has, purchased some larger patio equipment from Amazon previously, but never purchased a hot tub. We can tell if they're a homeowner. There's a lot of indicators that we can use to put the best product in front of these targets and maximize your chance of success there.
Nice. Thanks, Rachel. Moving on, this is a great question. I think, Cody, maybe you can take this one. What are your suggestions for content optimization? What performs the best? Maybe some specifics on storefronts, any insights into things that we've seen where we've implemented. It's like a 0 to 1, and you're like, oh wow, this listing didn't have this, now it does, and it's been really cool.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, something that Spreetail's really leaned into in the last year and a half is infographics. So I think historically we haven't really had the capabilities or really been very competitive when it comes to infographics. So that would be something that I would highly recommend. Make sure your products have, like I said, customers are only on your page for 20 seconds. I feel like when I'm a consumer, first thing I go is look at the pictures and what are those pictures telling you? So that's one area that I would really lean into for content optimizations. TJ, you asked about storefronts, making sure that this lines up back to your advertising plan as well. What are those top categories, top items that you want customers to know about? So if they're coming to your storefront, they're seeing very quickly, what are your top products? What are your top sellers? So making sure that it's very clearly organized and that they're able to see those things. I think one
Beautiful.
other thing, sorry, I didn't add in there is if you have any new to market launches too, it's really important to give them placement on your storefront. So customers, they know and can see, you have highly rated items already so that they can trust those new to market items as well.
Builds trust. Cool. All right. And then the last pre-submitted questions before we open it up to the chat for one more time. So get your questions in now before we end. Best practices for Prime Day success. I know we talked a little bit about preparing for Prime Day, but anything, and all of you have a lot of Prime Days under your belt. Anything you would like to share?
For me, the word preparedness comes to mind. You cannot fix what has not already been prepared for. If you don't have your inventory in a good position, if you haven't controlled retails leading up to Prime Day so that your promotional price works profitably for you, if you haven't set those deals up a long time, like they close the deals in advance of Prime Day. So, I mean, can you still run some last minute deals? Yes, there are still options there, but they're not quite as powerful as a well laid out and well prepared campaign, where you've been changing your ad structure leading up to that as well. Like there's a lot of preparedness that goes into it, and just showing up to bat the day of is not going to win.
Yeah, I agree with Matt on the advertising side. Now is the period to A/B test and work out those kinks and make sure that you've got the data in your back pocket to understand, how your product is converting with net new audiences, whether we're using search advertising or the DSP. You want those answers now so that you can properly plan your investment and your go-to-market strategy when the pressure's on and that traffic is flooding the site.
Nice. Well, yeah. Prepare now to crush the peak season. That's the tagline of this whole event. So, thank you to everyone who's joined us today and participated, asked questions. Again, we're going to send a free resource to help you kind of navigate this peak season. It has all the promotional dates, all the types of deals and promos that you can run. So keep an eye out on your inbox for that resource from the Spreetail team. And then, yeah, I'd be remiss not to have in marketing, we call it a CTA, but a call to action. If you're looking for any help navigating this upcoming peak season, there's still time to prepare. The Spreetail team is experts in this matter of getting brands up and ready, getting their inventory in the right place, and all of our e-commerce services kind of come hand in hand with our overall partnership. So you're not paying for one-off services like advertising or anything like that. We're a full suite end-to-end services with the Spreetail partnership. But thanks to all my speakers. You want to say goodbye before I hit the end music?
Yes,
Thank
thank you
you.
for having us.
We'll catch you
TJ,
soon.
I
Go ahead,
will
Matt.
drop a link on content optimization. I know there's a question. Amazon
Yeah.
does a really good job of supporting their sellers and showcasing like what exactly are we looking for this type of thing. So this is direct from Amazon. This is one of their blog posts about search optimization and content and everything. So that's a great read if you're not sure where to start, don't have a good understanding. That's a really good place to start right there.
Awesome. Well, appreciate that, Matt. And thanks again to everyone to join us today. We'll see you soon.